is our view that checking in for a physician visit or any encounter should be as automated as what we do today, very conveniently with airlines or hotels, et cetera. And the same thing to be true relative to the cash collection burden that practices are challenged with. So we have moved to a Medfusion version of merchant services and are moving away from Intuit merchant services, but we'll still have Intuit on the back end for customers that don't want to switch. We're going to deliver world-class patient check-in capability. Mike will speak more specifically about that, and also deliver electronic bill that patients can understand and pay from, and enable other value-added partners to participate in that workflow. Third major area of focus is going to be simplify for the consumer and the patient. I really like the word consumer because we are patients when we're having encounters, but we're always consumers of healthcare information and healthcare relationships. And Chris Vieira is going to talk about that more specifically in a few minutes. But again, everything mobile, a world-class, easy-to-use interface, no matter if you're a frail elder or a millennial or a sandwich mom or whatever the persona is of that patient or that consumer. We've got to present that technology in a way that those folks, that persona, a person or individual, can interface successfully with the technology. To enable caretakers or patients to be able to collect and understand and communicate their clinical information across their healthcare ecosystem, and provide capabilities that make it advantage for patients to use the technology. And obviously, we want to optimize this technology for what we refer to as community settings. And then our long-term goal is to facilitate health. And what that means is use all of our technologies as we get to be very disease-specific, whether I'm an oncology patient or whatever the disease that I'm trying to manage, but to be able to, as a consumer, effectively manage my care continuum, my wellness or my care management program, et cetera, and do that as a part of my mobile experience in a very engaged way with that physician or caregiver constituency. So, you'll see, continue to see articulation of these four pillars, and expression of the innovation that we're bringing across all four of these pillars, and that'll be represented just when I finish with Mike Raymer. I want to shift now to just kind of one proof point, and I guess I want to make two major points here. One is that our focus on customers, our re-engagement with customers, our listening to customers, and the tireless effort of our employees working through issues is now starting to show up in our customer satisfaction scores. You guys all know from our session together in October, we take this very seriously with the impromptu surveys that are leading indicators, but now we're starting to see the lagging indicator of class scores starting to demonstrate that our efforts are paying some dividends in the mind's eye of our customers. And in the most recent class evaluation of patient portal, everybody is effectively on the way down, except for Epic and ourselves, and we made the most significant move period over period by increasing our customer sat score by over 10%. We're clearly not where we want to be, and we clearly know that there's work to be done, but we are heading in the right direction. I think this second point I wanted to make is I think this also represents a point that I made to you folks, that there are three waves of healthcare IT macro waves. The first was the automation of financials. The second is what we're just concluding with the automation of clinicals, with the EHR adoption, et cetera. And now we're in the early days of the move to consumerism. And those second generation customers that are EHR companies that have focused on patient portals to satisfy meaningful use requirements, you're starting to see the early indication of those companies starting to decline in their focus, their energy, their functionality, and their support. And I think that's what you're seeing, in my opinion, in these customer sat scores. And then as you flip to the next page, this gets to the point that Phil made at the beginning, which is we listened very hard and attentively when you guys were in Raleigh in October, and knew that we could do better relative to self-help tools, and also communicating better where your tickets are and where we are in responding to those, and the chronological detail and history associated with that. So we've announced and rolled out capability there, and early indications from you folks and from others is that we've hit it completely out of the park with this capability. Penny's going to speak more to that in a second, but kudos to Penny and her team for the hard work of going out, sourcing the tool, standing it up, putting all the content in it, in the early days of this rollout. 2 points in close here for me is Chris Fier is going to be up in a few minutes and give a update on Claire. I've also asked him to reach out to all of you post this call as we are in the pilot stage of that capability, and I would ask if you guys have the bandwidth and the capability to help us that you all participate in the pilot program. So Chris is going to reach out to you post this call and see if we can engage you in some part of our pilot process for the rollout of this new capability. I think this is a significant need in the marketplace. It obviously is in its early stages, and we would very much value your feedback and involvement in that process. So look out for that communication from Chris. And then the last thing I'd like to say before I open it up for a question or two and then turn it over to Mike is we promised to get you guys a book, the book that I referenced when we were back together. Those books are in, and that will go out in the mail to you in the next day or so. So be on the lookout for that book that was promised back in October, but we finally got our hands on them via back order, and we'll be shipping those to you this week. So with that, let me again say thank you so much for your help, involvement, and input into our company and the progress that we're making. We value it, and we will continue it. And let me just take a couple of minutes and see if there's any questions of me before I turn over to Mike.
You're unmuted, so feel free to ask any questions. All right. Okay, no questions, good.
All right, guys. Well, enjoy the rest of the meeting. I'll turn it back over to Phil and Mike, and we'll look forward to seeing you when the weather's better in Raleigh.
Thank you, Vern.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Okay, guys. Vern has to drop to join another meeting, so we're going to now move on to Mike Raymer. Mike is next up on the docket, and along with Mike, Chris Vieira is going to be also showing a part of our Claire product. So, Mike, take it away.
Awesome. Well, we're really excited to share with you an update. Vern did a great job of setting it up in terms of what our 4 areas of focus are for FY15. So if we can go down one slide. They are about streamlining the practice, revolutionizing patient payments, simplifying for the consumer, and facilitating health. So I'm going to go through it in a greater level of detail and also connect some of the dots with the feedback that we got during the RAB meeting in October. And we continue to make great progress on the product. We're very excited about both the tools and processes we've put in place to more reliably predict and deliver products on a timely basis. And the team, both within product management and product development, have done a really nice job. The other thing is we've entered in FY15. We've tried to be really conscious about realizing that building a product extends all the way into live operation of the customer. And so I think even you'll see tighter coordination in terms of delivery of products to you as a customer and the benefits that you'll receive from it. But let's dive into a deeper level of detail then by, first of all, looking at the area of streamlining the practice. So a lot of feedback during the RAB meeting, by a couple of segments concerned about integration to the EMRs. And so some of the things that have happened since the RAB, one is we have been able to deploy next-gen implementation for the first time. Really gotten great feedback on that. We'll continue to evolve and build out 2 additional areas in that will be available shortly. One is in the area of lab management, and the second one is in the area of bulk invites. As we talk about Medfusion Pay, we'll also have enabled pay capabilities also on the next-gen platform. The second area for which we've been making investments year to date have been with Greenway. And I know that it's a source of frustration working on the older Greenway integrations, and we have begun rebuilding upon their new APIs. That work has continued to progress. There's a critical delivery from Greenway that we'll get in April that will enable us to complete the first release of that in early summer, late spring. And so we've had very good discussions with Greenway. Penny was down last week at Greenway's support center. I made a trip down last month to meet with the CTO at Greenway. I have another follow-up meeting with him the end of this month, both on March 31st and April 1. And so we're really encouraged about the progress that we're beginning to see there. You won't feel that till probably about halfway through the year. But we believe by getting on their most current APIs, we'll be able to create a much more stable integration platform for the Greenway base. The third area for which we've been continuing to invest in integrations is in the GE base, and it's been on two dimensions. We have a number of large customers that are using GE on the EMR side, but using a different PM product. And so we've been able to get 2 sites live in that particular platform.
Yep, now back in.
They knocked the call out 12 times.
We didn't cancel the meeting. We only canceled. We got dropped off.
Scroll down. Back.
Kevin, is that you?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Let's make sure that everyone's there. Alan Henson, can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, looks like we're back online. Can you see our screen okay, guys?
Yep.
Yes. Mike, the power outage.
In the Greenway base, in the GE base, there's really 2 areas of integration that we have been actively working on. One of them has been on what we call the GE EMR integration to any PM products. We have a number of large customers that have a mixed environment. We could successfully deploy in that environment. It's been critical for us to test in this year. The second area is we have shortly will be releasing a new method by which you can deploy, in particular, the utilization dashboard across all of your workstations in the practice without the tedious sneaker net that you've historically had to do. So that will be, I think, a welcome upgrade. Probably the biggest issue that we talked about at the RAB, and certainly I've talked about with a number of customers individually, it's just been the reliability overall of the GE integration. And so Vern and I had a long meeting with GE Healthcare about a month ago where they've committed to giving us, and appreciate a number of you asking, early access to their API. They believe that will be available to us in late April, early May. Vern is also going to be meeting with John Zimmerman on Thursday of this week, and we're looking at another follow-up meeting just prior to the AMGA meeting on the West Coast, where Vern and I may go out on a Sunday and meet with John. So once we get those APIs, what it will allow us to do is, rather than having the file-based interactions that we have today, is do it at an API level, which will make the release-to-release stability of the product to be much more robust. And so we're really pleased with the progress we've made on the integration front. We also have released a couple of other enhancements to the Allscripts integration, which includes linking of CCDs, some tools to allow simpler integration of the product into the environment from a network security standpoint, and then finally enabling Allscripts for some of the pay activities that we'll talk about in a bit. So needless to say, a big part of streamlining the practice is streamlining the workflows. We also have been in the process of designing the patient reminder and notification technology. Today we have a particular stage gate that we're passing from the business case to beginning construction. We're going to call it ACDC, void calls and direct communication with consumers. And so the initial focus in that area will be in two areas. One will be appointment reminders. The second one will be payment reminders. But the solution is being architected where it can be used in a variety of communication approaches, which include a secure message, a text message, or an email. On the forms front, we are adding some additional capability. One is an area of calculated fields. So certainly whether you're a pediatric practice looking for tools to predict whether a child might be autistic, whether you need an Oxford knee score for really scoring the patient's range of motion pre and post surgery, or whether you need a fall risk assessment, we have begun layering in the capabilities of supporting calculated forms. We will release them in a batch of about 3 to 4 forms at a time, and so stay tuned for that. Stephanie's done some really nice work in that area. One of the learnings that we've had is that some of these forms require us to license the content, drive the forms, so some of these will have some expense associated with them for you because there's expense on our behalf to license the content to require the form. The other area of enhancement on forms is follow-up questions. So particularly important for those new patients for which you're doing they may be filling out their own patient history. So if there has been no history of cancer in the family, then it would skip all the questions relative to that. Or if there is a particular question that's asked that requires a follow-up, it will also drive that, think of it in the opposite way. We continue to make progress in the area of practice analytics. So I think we showed you briefly the work that Cindy Nyberg had been doing on what we call practice intelligence, which is really looking at the workflow of how your patients or consumers are interacting with the practice. In working with Whitespace Health, followed that up with a couple other offerings, one of them around practice performance, which is looking at more of the workflow once the patient or consumer arrives in your office and what your performance of the front desk is. Back in the exam room, what does throughput look like? What kind of cancellations are you having, et cetera? And then the most recent version of that has been in the area of financial performance of the operation. They're really looking at the performance of the back office in terms of collecting from both payers and patients and what your performance as an organization has been there. The really great thing is that now we've also released that jointly with Whitespace Health as a mobile app that you can run out of the App Store. So really, really excited about those particular analytic tools. The beauty is they really cross all the EMRs, and it requires very little work on your part to enable that service. And we set it up from a pricing standpoint to where it is very much the risk. It's a month-to-month agreement, and we have a number of programs where you can run it for a trial period of time to see how it goes for your operation. Finally, a number of premium service offerings. I think One of the areas that has been a huge hit is the chat support for patients or consumers as they're logging onto the portal or using the portal. Today we have more than 50 of our customers that are using that service. As we move and talk about some of the improvements we're making in the core portal itself, we think it'll actually enhance that experience for the consumer quite substantially. Lots of investment has been made in helping you streamline your interactions with consumers in the practice, and there'll be more as we head into the last half of the year. What I'd like to do now is to really transition to talking about revolutionizing the patient payment. And so we have called that service Medfusion Pay, and it is really an end-to-end platform for engaging and collecting payments from patients, ensuring that you get paid more and faster with less time on the part of your staff's time. There are 4 components to Medfusion Pay. I'm going to walk through each one of them. The overall service itself is called Pay Service, and we'll dive a little bit more deeply into that. We try to look at payments, much like the airline industry has looked at how do you book. And so prepay is the idea of the patient checking in from home on their device, whether it be a mobile phone, whether it be an iPad, or whether it be on a workstation, and to really drive a lot of the payment of the copay, also putting hotel-like charges on their credit card in anticipation of final adjudication of the bill. So really mimicking much of what's done on the early bird check-in with airlines, enabling that for practices. PayPoint is at the center, and that's really collecting at the point of service inside of the clinic. So whether it be through credit cards, debit cards, cash, or checks, we want to have a solution that spans all that. And then finally, ePay has been where we've made the largest historical investment. We'll be expanding that we've already offered electronic statements or e-statements, following that very shortly with printed statements. So what I want to do is dive into each one of these at a little bit deeper level, because there are some granularity to that I think would be beneficial for you to hear about. So Medfusion Pay Service is really we've designed it in conjunction with some of the leading banks in the U.S. And what we've done is really build a healthcare-specific platform with world-class partners. So our initial bank that we'll be releasing with is Fifth Third Bank. They are supported by a processing arm called Vanif. So I know one of the RAB members today has Vanif at Seven Hills. Since the October meeting, our facility has been certified as a Level 1 compliant PCI shop, which is a requirement for us being the front end of a merchant processing. But most importantly, we heard a lot of concerns around the reporting aspects and reconciliation aspects of processing credit cards. And so we have secured a platform that is going to allow us great flexibility in matching and batching according to how you would like to manage your reconciliation process in your clinic. It'll also give you some really extraordinary tools at tax time, as we're almost on April 15th, and you're trying to get the details around the charges that have been processed. And many times you're either having bookkeepers, you're paying your accountant to do that work for you. The beauty is a lot of the reporting will greatly simplify your daily close, your monthly close, and your end-of-year tax accounting responsibilities. So if we go to the next slide, it is the most reliable and secure payment service we believe in healthcare. It'll provide end-to-end revenue management, so whether you're at prepay or all the way in the patient paying their final adjudicated bill, it'll all be processed on a single platform. You'll be able to see where those payments are made by the patient or the consumer, and the final screen for when the electronic statement is available online to the consumer, they'll be able to easily see what their final responsibility is. And our first bank is Fifth Third Bank in Banff. The other bank that we are working with is Wells Fargo. We anticipate that that will not be brought online for probably halfway through. So if we move from pay service to talk a little bit about prepay. So no matter what your device is, whether mobile, iPad, or a workstation, there'll be a responsive-based design as a payment collection platform. We'll also have a way for the patient to take a picture of their insurance card so that if they do not have a current insurance card, that can be rectified by the consumer prior to them hitting your office. Also, some of the work that we've been doing is making our forms product more responsive to work both inside of our mobile offerings and iPad and the workstation, but more particularly to work with Medfusion Plus, which is the Claire app that Chris has been working on. We'll show you in a little bit greater detail. We also want to make the patient a smarter shopper. So there'll be a number of offers that will be given to the consumer, whether it be discounts with retail pharmacy, whether it be discounts available for branded medications that have been prescribed by the physician. We go to the next screen. Part of what it will be, it'll be a downloadable app. It'll push out notifications of upcoming appointments and allow them to check in advance, much like you do in airport or for an airline. We'll do insurance verification and reminders about any outstanding bills to pay or any forms that have not been yet completed by the patient. For those that don't take advantage of prepay, which we think initially about 20% of your patients we think will use prepay, you'll be able to catch them inside of the office with the check-in application. You'll be able to have either both a tablet-based solution for you to use as a standard for your operation, or also you can use the patient's own device as that check-in form in the office, much like they do for prepay. We move to ePay, which is kind of the back end. So if we can go one more, that would be great. Back up one. Just ePay really is the back end, and much of what we have today, the ability to pay your bill online. But when you pay that bill online, you'll now be able to see how much you owe. You'll be able to produce an electronic statement that will indicate to the patient how much is owed. That statement will mimic very much like a statement you would get with a credit card or a cell phone bill. So the first page, the summary of charges, how much has been adjudicated by the insurance company, and then how much is still due by the patient. They'll be able to pay in 7 different ways, including online. We're going to change the moniker from Pay Now to Pay Here. Some people have found the Pay Now to be somewhat insulting, as if the system's insisting that they pay right now, and so we'll be changing that to Pay Here. Continue to support mobile bill pay, and have been doing a lot of enhancements around the ability to create a scheduled payment. Today, that is set up primarily by you working with the consumer. We want to be able to offer rules by which the consumer, you can establish as a practice, like what are the maximum amount of money that you're willing to go on a payment plan, what's the maximum number of periods that you're willing to go, and basically have the consumer take more of the headache around setting that up, take that away from you, make it more self-service for the consumer. So on the next slide, it really talks about ePay, paying online. E-statements will have the ability to pay quickly with one click, much like you have with modern payment. Scheduled payments will automatically come out of the system. Pay Here will be supported in addition to mobile bill pay. And so, our goal with the whole thing is really to take the payment process, and figuratively today, patients stand in teller lines, and we want to enable them with ATMs to be able to, for you to be able to recover the patient responsibility at the lowest use of labor inside of your practice. The final area is PayPoint. And so one of the things that you're going to be seeing with PayPoint is it'll support credit cards, check scanning, in addition to cash. And so if we go to the next screen, the PayPoint terminals will go beyond just magstripe readers to support what's called chip on a card, or EMV. And so most of you now have got a credit card that's got a gold little box on the top of the card, and that's called chip on a card. Effective toward the end of this year and the first of next year, any merchant that is not accepting chip on a card will actually pay a higher interchange rate for processing that credit card. And so every consumer is going to be driven to establish a PIN, much like you have a PIN for your debit card with a credit card. And you'll dip the card and then take the card back and then enter a PIN number rather than signing a receipt on the terminal. We'll also be supporting Apple Pay and Google Wallet, which is really slick for those of you that have been able to try that. There's a big benefit to the organization, and that your fee structure is going to be at a card present rate. It's very strong two-factor authentication. So it's actually one of the most secure ways for which a patient can pay. We also have been working with check scanners, and many of you have those today, particularly in your back office. When you scan your check, it automatically then takes an image of that and deposits it in the bank for you. The other innovative area that we've been looking at is the use of a cash scanner. So for those that have remote offices with not as much accounting support, or you have concern a little bit about shrinkage of cash in your operation, it is a mini scanner that is at each check-in desk, and as cash is received from the consumer, they scan it into the machine. It puts it in a mini safe right there on site, and then an armored service would come to pick that up. So we think there'll be some instances where that will be attractive, but you know, not necessarily for everyone. But it's something that we've been going out getting some great feedback from customers about. So if you just go to the final area on payments, really, this service will have our first sites going live in March and April. Our intention is to focus on the larger sites that have been processing historically with Intuit. There'll not be a requirement for anyone to move off the Intuit, but you will not be able to take advantage of prepay, PayPoint, and ePay with the legacy Intuit service. It all will require use of the new Medfusion Pay platform. So I know that was a lot in that section. Maybe we can open it up for a couple questions right now. And why don't we unmute the line for everyone to see if people had questions about Medfusion Pay, or the first section about streamlining the practice.
So, Mike, we had two questions coming from Holly a moment ago. First was for Medfusion, require patients to have a portal account, and I guess that's really based on the application.
Does not have a portal account. So prepay will have a, basically we're going to use the IVR that you have today. A reminder notices already. No, it doesn't. Areas experience to actually pay your bill, but Pay Here suffices for that. We'll have to have an account only for that particular function.
And then the second question was for practices that may be in more remote offices that are using client technology. Would there be any restrictions or complications with that type of network?
We don't think so. So on the PayPoint side, we are the terminals themselves. There are a variety of ways in which they can connect. The PayPoint terminal can connect wirelessly, and so kind of if you've ever had an e-reader from like Amazon, where if you're downloading a book, when you buy your reader, it inherently has the ability to communicate wirelessly. That capability will be in the paper. Our ideal connection will be linking that pay point through a USB cable to that workstation. So there may be the requirement to have 2 free USB ports on any workstation at the front desk. Today, we only require 1, likely with PayPoint because of the new technology that needs supported. It likely will need to be 2 USB. Great. So those were 2 great questions. Any other questions? We're super excited about this. We are very actively working with the top 30 merchant accounts in terms of volume historically on Intuit. We're kind of focusing with the large customers first, but over time we'll make this available to everyone. And we're particularly excited about the prepay, PayPoint, and ePay portions of the portfolio. Okay, so let's move on to talk a bit about simplifying for the consumer. So we showed you demonstrations of Portal Inspire while you were here in October. We actually are going to beta. I think today we went to beta, if I'm not mistaken, at our first site. And so Katie's done a marvelous job of getting that product ready to go. We will be in a test mode for as long as it takes for us to validate that we really improved the experience. As we set the bar for this product, Katie has done a lot of hands-on review with consumers that have no experience with our portal at all. So they've really tried to do a very thorough job of user testing that particular platform. We think that right now, when we look at the abandon rate and sign-up, we think we can maybe get as large of a 50% improvement in sign-ups because of the simplification on the front end of Portal Inspire. There's a number of other nice things in Portal Inspire, including the ability to chat on any screen with the consumer and making the chat function a lot more accessible by them. So feedback so far in our user-based testing has been very, very positive in comparing to the new product. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Chris to talk with you about Medfusion Plus. Many of you have historically known that as Claire. And before we go, do we have one more question, possibly?
We did one question from Holly. So this is a Greenway-specific question, Mike. Will there be any communications back into Greenway, like tasking, for the purposes of posting, or will this need to pull reports and posts? So I don't know if we know the specifics of this.
We do. So part of the reason why I'm going down to Greenway on the 31st of March and the 1st of April is for, one of the things I neglected to mention, our intention on the ePay portion of it is to provide automated posting. So we'll go to the oldest balance first, apply the payment, and really simplify the posting process. We intend to do that with every PM system. We're being very proactive in working with the Greenway team. Interestingly enough, Greenway overall is not satisfied with their current payment technology as a vendor, and so they're looking very closely at Medfusion Pay as being that healthcare-tuned specific payment platform.
And another question come in, is the appointment history pulling from the EMR, or is this something that's going to be manually entered? And this is coming from one of our GE clients.
Yeah, so the push of the schedule to prepay, whether it be pre-check or check-in, will be coming from the system. We're going to be able to operate it in a way in which they can type in manually, but we'll be using the tools that both the PM and EMR products have, where they output a IVR to the telephone system for calling or other notification technologies. We'll take advantage of those. The intention is to provide that as kind of a standard part of the offering.
Perfect. Any other questions out there? Okay, let's turn it over to Chris Vieira. Chris is going to show us an update on Medfusion Plus. Is that what we're calling it now, Chris?
Correct. Hey, everybody. So the app formerly known as Claire is now, we'll be rebranding over the next 30 days or so to Medfusion Plus. And the team's been really hard at work over the last several months since we last saw you, tightening things up around the edges and making sure we had the data sources that we wanted, as well as updating the experience. And I'm going to just sign in using my account personally and show you what I've got. So this is myself, my dad, and one of my daughters. And what we focused on was actually making sure it would work with Medfusion, and then a lot of the neighboring portals on the market. It will work with Epic and Athena and eClinical, and by the HIMSS timeframe, we should also have Cerner, Allscripts, the VA for the veterans, as well as Medicare. And what we focused on initially was gathering all the key health data around what's available because of meaningful use. So that if we do focus initially on the CCDs, and that what we found when we worked with users and patients is that there's a really large benefit for them just having all their data in one place around medications and lab results, making it portable. And then we're also, a secondary item is also working toward appointments. So we have that in some cases and not in every case. In the case of Medfusion, we'll basically have a follow behind the pattern from Medfusion pay and prepay. We'll be piggybacking a lot of that stuff. It's just going to come a little bit later on. And then we're also focused on how we will merge with some of the items around Medfusion Mobile. So what you're familiar with in Medfusion Mobile, we'll start to pull some of those aspects into the Medfusion Plus product as well. So you'll kind of start to see a family of apps start to work together here over the next several months. So I'll show you what we've got here. We built in the ability to add your whole family, so just 3 of mine. And then you can also add multiple connections. So these are connections to Duke, and you can, of course, add connections to other places. So I will show you here some of the connections that we have users currently using today. And of course, similar to a Mint or Quicken model, if you get referred to another organization, you can click into that organization, and we'll pull the data in and merge it together into one care record for that patient. So they're able to actually see everything in one place. This is the dashboard. And so I actually don't have any appointments in my case, but we bubble up 2 of the main things, so medications and lab results. And then you can also, of course, dive into the actual health data. And we auto-categorize a couple other things, allergies, immunizations, and conditions. The other cool thing that we did is we added the ability to add notes. So what we were observing patients having is basically whenever they went to an appointment was they had their appointment card, and then they had a pile of sticky notes or a sheet of paper with some kind of questions on it that they're following up with. They had their card with them. So this gives them the ability to actually take a text note or snap a photo or pull one from their existing library. And I'll show you, for instance, I use my insurance card in there right now. And that's what I use for that. And then my daughter, actually, Hadley, I use that in the context of her medication. So I'll just show you right here, my little Evisol bottle. So she's still getting through all that stuff. She's around 15 months. Okay. So that's some of the fun stuff that you can do with the notes feature. And of course, we bubble up all the information around medication. So I'll pop back on that. And show you and then immunization. That's the last thing to show there. So I'll pause there. And is there any questions? All right.
Chris, when will this be available?
So we are, it is ready to go now. And so what we are doing, we're aiming to start pilot with this. So that's where you all could be a big help to us is your willingness to help us pilot with a subset of patients in your practices. And what we've seen in the Medfusion geography is that we all have neighbors who have different patient portals out there, and patients, depending on what you're doing, are being referred in and out of those different neighbors. And so we're seeing some benefit there across the Medfusion landscape. And so if you guys are interested, I would love to have a conversation about actually getting that kicked off with your group. and I will make sure to follow up after this call with emails so that you can reach back out to me if that is something that interests you. We will be making this more generally available in the summertime. Right now, it looks like the August timeframe.
Great, so everyone look forward to receiving an email or message from Chris, and if there's anyone out there that would like to participate as a pilot, please contact us. We'd love to have you. And as always, love to get your feedback along the way. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, lastly, on our agenda, Mike, was there anything else from the roadmap side?
No, I think just pause one more time to see if there were, we kind of at a high level touched some of the areas. Wanted to see if there were any other questions that someone might have that we could address prior to turning it over.
Going once, going twice? Anyone?
Well, if there are any, hey everyone, this is Reed. I wanted to make a comment here. Obviously, payments is a very important aspect of this year, so much so that Brian McNeely, as much as you know, was asked to go back onto the sales team and help work with the merchant services. So I know a lot of you have been reached out to by Brian. I'm sure he'll be reaching out to others if he hasn't already to discuss merchant services and Medfusion Pay. And wanted to announce that Ron Carter has come in to backfill his position. So some of you probably will be hearing from Ron Carter as well.
Answer, Holly, I did receive your email. I just haven't had a chance to get around to it. So I'll actually reach back out to you directly about that. And I appreciate the feedback on it.
Okay, any last questions for Mike and the roadmap? Great. Okay, last we're going to bring Penny up to give us an overview or a review, I should say, on the new help center.
Hi, everybody. First question I have is, how many people still have their mini iPads and how many had them stolen by their children? Still have mine, got mine, nice. Nice. I had to buy my daughter an iPhone weekend, so I'm sensitive to the whole technology kid thing. But that means they have to keep mine. Okay, what I wanted to talk about today real quickly was the Help Center and also just some other changes in client services in general. Reed told you about Brian McNeely, and Ron Carter has joined us. He's sitting here right next to me. Say hi, Ron.
Hello, everyone.
Some of you may know Ron from implementation. He's been with Medfusion 3 years. 3 years on the 19th. So he is a trusted resource and a patient and wonderful guy, and he will add so much to the client relationship management team. We're very happy to have him. The other thing was we also have a new person on support who you may have run into. Her name is Ashley Henning. We decided 2 Ashleys on the team just to keep things interesting. We have Ashley Nelson and Ashley Hennings. So Ashley Hennings is the newer person on the support team. She comes to us from LabCorp, and she has turned out to be a quick study, and she has been taking on cases already and is fully up to speed. And we're really happy to have her as well. The other update is you may have noticed a new phone queue. If you guys have called in, you notice now that you have you don't have to leave a voicemail anymore. So when you call, you can wait for the next available teller. You can hit some prompts to send you in the right direction, and that is our attempt to add skills-based routing, which means you should get to the right person for the type of question or issue that you're currently having. If you're having any questions with that phone, it is new, and we are tweaking it. We're actually working on a new hold message as well. So you'll see some more changes for that. But if you have any questions about that, just let me or Erica know, and we would love your feedback on that. The other thing that we added was Zendesk, the new support tool, and with that came the knowledge base. So let me just break that down a little bit. Zendesk is now our support tool for ticketing, and we did get some feedback from you guys, and it was all positive. Karen, I think, was the first person to chime in. Karen Marsh with her lots of exclamation points and thumbs up. So we were we smiled that day we got that first piece of feedback, so thank you, Karen. So with the support tool, you can see your cases online now. And you have to create an account, just in case for those of you who haven't tried this yet. You will create an account in Zendesk, and that's where you can go in and see your tickets. You certainly could share that login with others in your practice if everybody wants to watch those tickets. But that will list out all of your tickets, the status of that ticket, and then you can communicate about the ticket right there online and close the ticket if you feel like it's resolved, or you could even reopen it if it still turns out to be a lingering problem. So along with the Zendesk comes the knowledge base, and there's two parts of the knowledge base. The knowledge base is the first screen that you see that's kind of in your face when you go onto the site, and that is our content that will help you self-serve or train. It's a good resource to get a question answered, but it's also a great resource if you have a new staff on your team. They can certainly spend a day going through the 200-plus articles we have on the knowledge base and reading about what Medfusion is. We have it broken out into specific categories and integrations as well. Another part of that is the community forum. On the first layout that we did for the knowledge base, it had those boxes. If you went there, and the community forum was really low on that page, and I don't know that a lot of you saw it. So if you may have noticed that we changed the layout of the knowledge base, of the I should call it, and the community forum is now in the upper right-hand corner. That is where you would go in and ask a question. The way we see that working is if you're on the knowledge base and you have a question and you don't see your answer, you could chat with us right there from the knowledge base, or you could go into the community forum and type the question and enter your own thread and type the question there, and then others could answer that question or tell you what they do, best practices and such. So that's how we see that community forum working right now. We're also going to set up special rooms based on integration, and that's coming soon. Again, you can see your messages. You can see your cases on in the help center, and you do have to be logged in to see that. In the upper right-hand corner under your name, you can click on My Activities, and that's where you'll see your cases. Looks like you guys have been using that a lot, and again, any feedback you have is greatly appreciated. We have a phone integration working with Zendesk, which will be delivered this week or early next week, and calls will be routed through the browser. I don't know that you'll notice that, but it will be a good way for us to record those calls and use for QA purposes. That's being added as well. Any questions about the knowledge base, the community forum, or the new ticketing tool? All right, looks like no questions thus far. You can speak or type, it's up to you. If you do have any questions after this that you think of later, feel free to reach out to me or to Erica or to your CRM. Okay, I'll turn it back over to Phil.
Okay, great. Well, thanks, Penny. We have a few minutes left, guys. What we wanted to do was, again, just open it up for any questions in general, any feedback from the RAB members. Please don't hesitate to offer up any comments or feedback. I also wanted to ask for our next quarter, second quarter planned meeting, if there were any particular topics or items or things that you want from us to either display or demo or present. So either feel free to type up your ideas or suggestions on the chat feature, email us. Obviously, all of you have an individual client relationship manager person, or speak up. Let us know what you want to present or want to see for next quarter's RAB conference. Any ideas?
You need to unmute yourself too.
More iPhone, an iPhone.
Yeah.
CE clients have labs sent to patients automatically.
Thank you, Ashley. Any other ideas, suggestions, comments, concerns?
Like we're getting some here from elected clients saying more help around MU reporting. I don't know. The dashboard would be able to help with that. Karen, can you elaborate on that?
You guys hear me?
Yes.
At the last meeting, we talked about the reporting by for meaningful use, like by attending, so that we could get a breakdown of who's using our portal by attending.
Yeah, so that'll be in the latter half of the year, so it's not in the first half of the year. And so there'll be two parts to work that we're looking at on the utilization dashboard. One will be providing greater granularity, and the second one will be what you'd be able to look at from a benchmark perspective. But I should have made clear the things I covered in the roadmap were only first 6 months deliverable.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other comments or suggestions? So another question is, with the second quarter just around the corner, and the second quarter unfortunately has a lot of personal things happening with April, May, and June. Would there be a preferred month or week or day of the week that might work better for everyone? We want to make sure that we're accommodating everyone's schedule as best we can. Probably thinking maybe late May, but we have holidays in May, we have holidays in April, we have vacations and graduations and things of that nature in June. Getting some ideas. So late June.
It's looking like it's a winter unless others speak up.
Okay, perfect. Again, any and all feedback related to topic, timing, etc., as always, is greatly appreciated. Good deal. Any other last questions before we let you guys go? And as always, thank you for your time and attention today. Perfect. So on behalf of Medfusion, thank you all, Reference Advisory Board members. We, as always, thank you for your time. Thank you for your participation. And as always, thank you for your feedback. We'll be sending out a copy of the PowerPoint presentation used today and a copy of the recording. We missed a few minutes of the first few minutes of the recording, but we'll send out a link to the recording of this session. Please share as needed within your organizations. We'll get those out to you ASAP. Thank you all and have a great day.